Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where it is, let me just check, 12:04, so just 5 past, noon actually. And I begin class in like 1.5 hours, and I will go there 1 hour before and probably a bit before that actually, because I'm going to go and get some. Well, I wouldn't like to say breakfast, I would like to say lunch, but it's actually going to be breakfast before the class. Yeah, because that's the internal struggle of being a student. You have like all the time in the world, but still you sleep like 10 or 12 hours a day. Yeah. Why? Well, because I can. Oh, it's so bad, isn't it? Well, anyway, what have I been doing so far then until since last time we spoke? Well, not much actually. I went through some sustainability reports for a class for a future project, and we're gonna look at the sustainability report in sustainability. So that's all good. That's all great. I think I have a couple of candidates. I'm thinking about Ben and Jerry, and I'm thinking about. Well, actually, that's my one strong candidate. Actually, so the others aren't as good, so there probably won't be them. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've done. And then I've been reading up on some negotiation techniques, and within negotiation techniques also come presentation. Now that's a semi-good segue, but I think you will understand what I mean. Now, because in negotiation, when you're presenting yourself. So, and when you're presenting yourself, you gotta know how to present yourself. And presenting yourself in front of a group is part of networking, and a good networking skill is a part of being a good negotiator. Yeah, I know that's a bit far fetched, but please stay with me. So, presentation techniques. Then I have some that I would like to share with you, and that is one: split your eye contact. For God's sake, or for yeah, I don't want to use a biblical term, but do it, because there's so many people that I see when we're doing presentations who are just going like this. Because they probably have a script or something, so they're like, oh hello, let's just take a paper to do this properly, and they're like, hello, my name is Philip, and I'm going to present this. And my name is Philip, and we have 4.6 million. Done. And they never really look up from their paper. But now, have eye contact. It's important, because then you will understand. Then you will look at the people you're presenting for, and you will know if they actually understand what you're saying. So, for instance, if I'm talking to you guys, I would be like, oh, for instance, no, that's such a bad example. If I were to talk to people in a room, I would probably look at them and be like, to check if they're following what I'm saying. Because if I'm talking about something that I think is really complex and I don't know if I'm really good at presenting they might not follow what I'm saying. So just a quick look at them will probably give you a lot of information and will tell you, do they follow what I'm saying? And now, just because I say check with people and have some eye contact, I don't mean stare at them, because you can't stand and stare at the same person. And I've seen that too. And it's painful, because you have this one guy, or I wouldn't say one guy, we have like a couple of guys in my class right now, and girls too for that matter, that when they present, they don't look at the script that much, but instead they're standing and just looking directly at the teacher for like 5 straight minutes, and they're like blah 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 blah, and I'm like, dude, you're killing me. What about the rest of the people? You're here to supposed to present for all of them, not just the teacher. And just imagine the teachers, and she knows that you're just looking at her. She would know that you won't look at the other people, which will probably downgrade you. Anyway, so I would say you should keep your gaze moving. Stay between 3 to 5 seconds at each person. I would say that's a good amount of time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you with me? Look to the other one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm counting obviously wrong. Or too fast or too slow. I can't think about it right now. Anyway, but as a fair average, just like looking around so that you see that, so that you haven't left anyone out, because people don't want to feel left behind during a presentation, because if they do, well, they will probably be more inclined to not listen to you, and that's not what you want. Since you're presenting something, you want people to listen to you. You bloody well will. So just keep that in mind. Not staring at people, but keep eye contact with them at all. Not at all times, and don't stare at people. So here comes another more practical thing, and that is stick to one theme per slide. I know that this is something that people are like, what? One theme per slide? You have what, more than one slide on your presentation, mate? And of course, I'm talking about Pages or PowerPoint or any other sort of presentation tool that follow the same theme. And that is, of course, when you have a slide or something that is taking the focus of the people in the room away from you, or partially away from you, or would like to help you on your, or help the people focus on what you're saying. Keep to one thing per slide, because you would be surprised about how many people actually don't know what you're talking about. Or that's a rather bad way of saying it, but if I'm talking about food waste, for instance, after I've been talking about that for a while, if I have both food waste and let's say HR management on the slide, people will probably not know when I switched over to HR management. And they will mix up the different points, and it will be all sorts of crazy. So I would say stick to one theme per slide. Now, not that you can't like give some interesting perspectives on that subject and on that theme, interconnected with something else you've said during the presentation, but the main theme, the main focus of a slide should be one thing at a time. And it's obvious when I say the main focus should be one thing, but you wouldn't imagine how many people actually are getting this wrong. Share the stage also. That's the next one. It's super important because most of the time you're not going to present by your own, right? You're not going to be up there alone. You're not going to be up there and say like, "Hi, I'm going to present." No, it's most likely going to be, "Hi, we are going to present." So now that you know that you're going to look at people, like have eye contact, you're going to see so they're following what you're saying. You're going to see so that they're not feeling left out. You have one theme per slide. Now you're also going to know that you're going to share the stage with other people. And this is why you have to know what you're doing, because if you don't, you will easily go off script. Which leads us to the last point, which is practice a lot. And I mean a lot. I mean, if you have a 20 minutes presentation by your own, like that's what you're going to say, you're going to talk for 20 minutes during the, perhaps, say it's an hour-long presentation, and you can take up 20 minutes of those. Now, I know I've said the same thing a couple of times, but just bear with me. you probably will need at least 20 hours of practice, I would say. Is that overrating or overstating it? Probably a bit. But I know some people, or at least according to me, but I know some people who say like, oh, you're going to 2%, you're going to make a 10-minute presentation, then you probably need 100 hours of prep time. And I also heard a guy say very famously, I think it was quoting Winston Churchill, that if I am going to talk for an hour, you can give me 10 minutes of prep time. But if I'm going to talk for 10 minutes, I better need an hour. And I don't know if that's the correct amounts that he was talking about, but the idea behind it is that the less time you're going to talk for, the more prep time you probably will need. Why? Well, because you need to deliver a point probably, you need to capture interest, you need to keep the theme, and you need to end on a clever point so that binds it all together. So the less time you're going to speak for, the more time you will need to prepare actually. And that might sound strange, but I totally agree with that. Anyway, getting back then to sharing the stage. Now that you know that you need to practice a lot so that you don't go off script, because you need to share the stage, you need to actually also physically share the stage. Because I know I am having a problem with this, because I don't really know what to do when I'm standing on stage with other people and someone else is talking and I'm just standing there like, yeah, so I don't have a clue what I'm supposed to do. Should I look at the person who's talking? Should I look at the people, see if they're following? Should I maybe go and do something with my script? Should I look down at the floor? Should I look up at the ceiling? Should I take a walk around? You know, oh, it's so weird. And I know that some people will say, well, just have a rotation so that one person stands in front of the class and the other people are off stage. and then you change with each other. And yeah, that's all good and dandy, but just imagine me sitting in a school when I'm supposed to present in front of a blackboard or a whiteboard. We don't have any place where you can go off. And even if I had, I probably didn't want to, because I probably would like to still be on stage. Because as I said, I have stage fright, so that kind of isn't going together well, but I would like to combat that as much as I can. And I would think it's better if everyone's on stage or a couple of people are on stage all the time. But then think about sharing the stage so that you don't take up all the space, especially when you're not the one who's supposed to talk. Because I've seen people too taking up the attention. Like I've seen some, or rather, I would say it like this to end with. I've seen some people who are rather weak, weak when it comes to their oral presentations. They're not that charismatic. People aren't really focused. And then when someone else is doing something more interesting, even though they're not the one speaking, they're taking all the focus away from them. So even though you're not the one presenting at that point in time, if you're on the stage, or if you're in the audience for that matter, share the stage. Be able to let the person who's supposed to talk, and when it's your turn, think about not screwing the other people on stage. That might sound really weird, but don't screw over what someone else has said, and be able to adapt. I would say that's also part of sharing the stage. So, eye contact, don't stare, don't make people feel left behind. Stick to the one theme per slide, share the stage, and practice a lot. The smaller the presentation is, or rather, the shorter the presentation is, the more prep time you need. That's all for me today, guys. Have a really good day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.